looks to be complete when they're healthy. But you're here to show us why maybe there's a lineup issue we need to pay attention to.
Yes, the big three is available, but let's break down this lineup and the rotations because it's quite fascinating. First of all, when LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves are on the floor together, what does this team look like? Well, they actually are negative, minus 9.6 net efficiency with Luka, Reeves, and LeBron all on the floor, which is quite fascinating when you think about it. Now let's sub out LeBron James here for Marcus Smart. So that means we've got two guys right here in the backcourt, Luka and Austin Reeves. What does this situation look like here for the Los Angeles Lakers? They actually are in the positive, plus 14.5 net efficiency with Luka and Reeves on and LeBron James off. Interesting. All right, let's switch it up here and let's give LeBron James some minutes back. So let's bring in LeBron for Luka. Let's bring in the new shooter in for Austin Reeves. What does this look like here for the Lakers if we switch things around? LeBron James by himself on the floor without Luka and without Austin Reeves actually has a plus 7.7 net efficiency in that circumstance. So again, just to reiterate, when the big three are on the floor, that's the only negative circumstance for the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, the main problem for this entire group, the possession battle. Offensive rebounding, first and foremost. The Lakers' offensive rebounding percentage, when all three share the floor, is 20.1%, which would rank last in the NBA. Now let's head over to turnovers. All right. The Lakers have a 15.1% turnover percentage when all three share the court, but force a turnover just 12.3% of the time on the defensive end. Yikes. Okay, let's head over to transition defense. The Lakers allow 1.38 points per possession in transition when all three share the floor, which would rank 27th in the NBA. Let's head over to opponent three-point shooting.
Does it get better?
Nah, the Lakers allow 37.4% three-point field goal percentage when all three share the floor, which would rank 28th in the NBA. So the Lakers, they have shot 35% on three-pointers when all three share the court, as well as losing the MAC game here in so many different circumstances.
Okay, JJ, if you have the TV on right now, please don't turn it off. We do have some good news for you because when Luka is on the floor, he brings his best against the Los Angeles Clippers, right? Their opponent tonight. He averages over 32 points a game against them. That's the most against any opponent. Wilt and MJ, the only two players to average more against any team in NBA history. And we're so lucky. The voice of tonight's battle for Los Angeles joins us now, the one and only Dave Pasch. Dave, thanks so much for the time. We love when you come into studio.
Good to see you guys.
This doesn't happen all that often, and so we feel very lucky to have you. Let's dive into this matchup a little bit. We know that there's something about Luka, and when he faces the Clippers, you've called these games before. You have the best seat in the house. What is it that you're watching in this matchup?
Yeah, whether it's the shot in the bubble in the playoffs or his first 50-point game in the regular season against the Clippers, he clearly likes to play against the Clippers. I think there is something there. I'm curious tonight, the fact that we finally get to see these three guys for a consistent stretch together, Doncic, James, and Reeves. This feels like it for the Lakers. You've got a stretch of 15 of 18 at home. Getting to 2 feels like it's going to be tough. I don't know if they can make up 5 games in the loss column to catch San Antonio, but can they get to 3 or 4 and have home court in the first round? So they've got to play better at home, and now they're finally healthy. LeBron coming off the triple-double prior to the All-Star break. Oldest player ever to have 4 straight games and 10-plus assists, playing at elite level right now.
Approximately how many LeBron James games do you think you've called in your career?
So it's my 20th year, 20th or 21st. So yeah, I mean, it's been a lot. I mean, over 100. I remember doing a game in Chicago, his first year. I was actually doing it with Bill Walton. And I remember it because I think it was LeBron. It may have been a teammate, but it was back when they were all wearing the headbands. Somebody took the headband off, threw it towards the scorer's table. I was just happy to be on the NBA, happy to be sitting next to Bill Walton. And he starts yelling, that's a technical foul. You can't do that. You're throwing an item off your head. And I just let him go. I didn't say anything. I just let him go on for about a minute. And finally, Mike Tirico scolded me after.
Just a minute for Bill?
It was just a minute. We had to go to commercial. So that was the only way to stop.
And you didn't take the headband and maybe just like try it?
He wanted to. It wasn't tie-dye, though, so really probably
didn't go with that. But I imagine, and we're talking about the oldest player to have a triple-double right before the All-Star break. It feels almost wrong to then say, well, how many more do you think you're going to be able to get to call? But when you sit down in, whether it's here in LA or when you're calling a Lakers game now, does that cross your mind at all?
A little bit. We're going to be back here for the Knicks game in a couple weeks, probably for that one, because I think after that, until the playoffs. I'm not sure that I have another Laker game. So my guess is I'll be thinking about it. But I don't think this is it for him. So it's hard really to go there.
I'm excited for that one. I'll be on the call for that with you. Shanae and I, we have a little bit of a complicated relationship with the Clippers, right? Because there's so many times you get really excited for this team, what Kawhi is doing, what he did at the All-Star game. I mean, where are we with them right now, Shanae?
So it's funny. Anytime something goes good, I hold my breath because I feel like something bad is coming with the Clippers.
Right. So where are you? What are you watching most closely with them in this game, this new look Clippers team?
The Zubats trade shocked me because, and then they still won last night. I don't know how they're going to rebound without Zubats.
And who's available?
The way that Ty Lue has this team playing right now, and Jeff Van Gundy deserves a lot of credit too for that defense. In fact, they have the best record in the NBA. And they've had guys, I mean, Derek Jones has been out. So now you're trying to implement Mathurin, who clearly can go get you 30 plus. He's done it now a couple times this year. I'm still bullish on the Clippers. Maybe I shouldn't be, but I feel like they could get in the playoffs and do some damage.
I know you've seen LeBron James multiple times. What do you make of Kawhi's play as of late?
It's the best I've seen him play. It's saying a lot because he's been Finals MVP twice with two different franchises, but it feels like he's taken it to a new level this year.
What makes you say that this is a team, a Clippers team? Because Shanae and I were about to leap again. We're listening to you, Dave.
I think because of him, Malika. I think it's him. Again, when they went to the conference finals, he got hurt, didn't play in that series. But if he continues to play like this, and we still don't know the results of the investigation and what that might mean for him and the Clippers down the stretch, but if he keeps playing like this, you got to stop him in the playoffs. And when he's playing as well as he is right now, both ends of the floor, plus as much as he gets to the line, career high in free throw shooting, career high in scoring, you got to stop him. You got to beat him 4 times. It's going to be tough.
He's not a player that tends to beat himself. You have to be the person to stand in his way. Shanae, we're back.
We're going to dip our toe in the Clippers water. We won't jump in.
Yeah, but that was a very, we hear you, and, you know, tonight is going to be an interesting one, the battle for Los Angeles. Dave, thank you for spending a little bit of time with us here in studio. Accurate. It's been a predictor the last few years, and today we have a new installment. So let's not dance around the pole anymore and get right to it with the man himself. Tim Bontemps, what did you learn this time in the straw poll?
Well, Malika, we learned that once again, for the 4th straight time going back to this time last season, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the Oklahoma City Thunder guard, is atop the poll, and by a pretty big margin. And I think the big reason for that is because of the 65-game rule and the impact that could have on awards. This became the first straw poll I've done ever, going back to 2017, that Giannis Antetokounmpo did not get a vote.
Wow.
That's because he is not eligible for end-of-season awards anymore, because he has fallen below the 65-game limit. And Nikola Jokic, the gap between he and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander got bigger between these first and second polls, I think in large part because he missed those 16 games with that bone bruise in his knee, putting him just 1 game away from being at the limit to prevent him from falling out of awards eligibility. I think that played a part in the minds of voters over the last few weeks. And I think if Jokic can stay healthy, and by the way, if Shai can stay healthy, he's out for at least another week, as we know, with that abdominal issue he's been dealing with. He's going to be up to double-digit games missed. That could potentially open the door for other guys to get in the mix. And it also could leave Nikola Jokic, I think, with a chance to get all the way back into this race if he gets back to playing the way he was before he got hurt and stays healthy the rest of the way.
Okay, so in full disclosure, of the 100 voters that do the straw poll, I'm one of them. I don't actually vote for MVP, but I vote for Tim Bontemps. There you go. And I voted for Nikola Jokic first in my straw poll. Shump, do you agree with the 100 voters here that put Shai Gilgeous-Alexander first, followed by Nikola Jokic, and then we saw the rest of the results there?
Well, I wanted to. I started off this way.
And then?
But no. Kay Cunningham is the MVP of this league. And I say that because of the body of work that he's done and the cool, calm, collected attitude that he has, that he is ready for the playoffs. The way this kid is developing, how fast it's happening, the way his team trusts him, the way J.B. Bickerstaff trusts him, the city trusts him, and then he walks into Detroit and gets that big statement win, then calls himself the best player. I think we keep the microscope on him, but to me, it's not even close right now.
when we're dissecting records, there is absolutely a case for Cade, but I also am excited about a potential case for Victor Wembanyama. Currently at number 2 in the West. They're only 2.5 games back of the Oklahoma City Thunder. And if by any chance they get to 1 in the West, it'll, I won't even say largely, it was like 99.9% be because of Victor. He's averaging 24 and 11. Again, potential defensive player of the year. He is trying to dominate not just the games he's in, but the entire sport. And so I love Cade as a leader because best record, best player, but Victor applies in that circumstance if they keep winning.
Well, the good news is we get one more poll. We get one more before we get the final MVP results.
One more chance to dance around the poll. Malika?
Tim, I don't want to dance around it anymore. In that final straw poll, what could we see change? Because it feels like this eligibility rule that players are bumping their heads on, it could really change a lot of things between now and then.
Yeah, Malika, I think it's made the race really wide open, really more wide open than it's been in a long time. And look, Shea and Jokic have been at the top of the ballot for a couple of years consecutively now, right? So you would really think this is going to be a 2-horse race. And it very well might be. I think if Nikola Jokic stays healthy, it is probably going to be a 2-horse race. But Jokic is only 2 games away from not being eligible. Shea is getting closer, as we said earlier, to not being eligible. And as Chiney and Shump both pointed out, the Detroit Pistons now have the best record in the entire NBA. Yeah. I don't think people have really woken up to that yet. Obviously, they just had the great win last night against the Knicks. If they continue to play this way, they play the All-Access game on our air next week against the Cavs. If they continue to be the best record in the league, Cade continues to play at the level he's at, I think he's got a very real chance to be the first American MVP since James Harden back in 2018. And as Chiney pointed out, the Spurs are only a couple games back of the Oklahoma City Thunder.
That's right.
If they get ahead of the Thunder, that is going to be a massive
You're saying
boost
chaos
to Victor's
could be
candidacy.
coming.
So
you're saying chaos here.
I genuinely
could be
think for the first time, I think for the first time in a long time, really going back all the way to maybe 2017, when you had Russell Westbrook, James Harden, LeBron James, and Kawhi Leonard all have real cases for the award. I think you've got 4 guys that all could legitimately win the award on February 20th, and I think all of them are in the mix all the way down to the end. I think in large part, as you said at the beginning, because of the massive uncertainty that's been thrown in the mix because of the 65-game rule. Yeah,
I completely agree with you. And by the way, Shump, I know you're new around here. That straw poll, it almost always accurately predicts the MVP. Here's a look at the standings. Chiney, you got a little work to do, but you're right there in the middle.
Last place.
And Shump, this is your first time joining us. So
let's go, Shump.
Chiney, we're going to start with you. Okay. We're going to show you how this is done, right? All right. Who said this? When we've played some of our best basketball this season, we've looked very good. When we've been terrible, we've looked disgusting. Was it Ime Udoka, LeBron James, or Mr. Draymond Green?
I'm just going to go with Draymond.
Is it Draymond?
Oh, dang, my streak's over. I won 3 straight. Dang.
We've played some of our best basketball this season. We've looked very good. We've been terrible. We've looked disgusting.
All right, 0 for 1 to start out this fine Friday. Shump,
hold me down.
We are depending on you here. Who said this? I'm going to go with Jaylen Brown. I'm going to go with JB because he's from the city. He can't date my sister. Sure.
I know this one. Can I take it?
Was it or was it Bam Adebayo?
I know this one.
I don't even know who got a sister. Let's go with Bam.
Was it Bam?
It's Ant. I know it. I know it. I know it.
What's absolutely fascinating about being a Lakers fan right now is watching an organization that everyone assumes operates in perpetual chaos, somehow executing the most methodical and sophisticated team-building strategy we've witnessed in years, while simultaneously dealing with enough soap opera drama to fuel 3 different reality television shows and still managing to position themselves as legitimate championship contenders despite having their 3 best players miss half the damn season due to various ailments that would make a medieval plague doctor throw up his hands in frustration. The sheer audacity of this franchise to maintain relevance while juggling more moving parts than a Swiss watchmaker's fever dream is either pure genius or the most elaborate accident in professional sports history. And honestly, at this point, does it really matter which one it is as long as the end result involves hanging another banner in those Crypto.com arena rafters that cost more money than most countries' annual GDP, just to name? If you're sitting there thinking, finally, Someone who understands that great organizations think in years and decades rather than weeks and months, go ahead and absolutely destroy that like button, because I'm about to present the most compelling case you'll ever hear for why everything happening in Lakers land right now is building towards something so strategically brilliant and competitively dominant that future business school professors will study this period as the definitive example of how to construct championship caliber organizations while everyone around you is losing their collective minds over daily Twitter updates and hot take merchants screaming into the void about roster construction. The foundation of understanding where the Lakers currently stand requires examining a decision that happened years ago, but continues to reverberate through every conversation about superstar free agency and championship construction in ways that most people completely miss. And that decision belongs to Kawhi Leonard back in 2019, when he specifically chose the Los Angeles Clippers over the Lakers, not because of money, not because of coaching staff, not because of roster fit, but because he fundamentally did not want to play alongside LeBron James and everything that partnership would have entailed from a basketball perspective, media scrutiny perspective, and individual legacy perspective. The reporting from Bruce Arthur revealed that Leonard's camp made it crystal clear to multiple teams that while playing in Los Angeles appealed to him because of his California roots and family considerations, the Lakers represented his third option in free agency, specifically because partnering with LeBron would have created a dynamic that Leonard had zero interest in navigating throughout what he knew would be the prime years of his own championship window. This wasn't about basketball fit or strategic concerns about playing styles. This was about Leonard making a calculated decision that he could achieve more individual and team success by explicitly avoiding the LeBron James ecosystem rather than trying to find ways to thrive within it. Which tells you everything you need to know about how other elite players view the complexities of joining forces with someone who commands so much attention, decision-making authority, and organizational influence that even players of Leonard's caliber would rather sign with a franchise that had never won anything significant rather than deal with those particular challenges. When you consider that the Clippers immediately traded away their entire future draft capital to acquire Paul George specifically to accommodate Leonard's preferences, and that partnership ultimately produced exactly one Western Conference Finals appearance in 5 years while dealing with constant injury issues and chemistry questions, it becomes even more interesting to think about how Leonard's decision to avoid LeBron might have actually prevented him from achieving the sustained championship success he was seeking in the first place. I believe this Leonard situation established a precedent that continues to influence how other superstars evaluate potential partnerships with LeBron, creating a dynamic where the Lakers have to work twice as hard to convince elite players that joining forces with him will enhance rather than complicate their championship aspirations. Which brings us directly to the central question that's been consuming Lakers discourse for months, and will ultimately determine everything else this organization accomplishes over the next several years. And that question revolves around LeBron James himself, his contract situation, his market value, his physical limitations, his family preferences, his legacy considerations, and his fundamental decision about whether he wants to prioritize maximizing his final earning potential or positioning himself for one last legitimate championship run before transitioning into whatever comes next in his post-playing career. The reporting from Sam Amick suggesting that LeBron's relationship with the organization has been impacted by not receiving a contract extension offer completely misses the strategic reality of why that extension never materialized. Because offering LeBron a $50 million annual extension would have consumed the Lakers' entire salary cap flexibility and forced them to run back essentially the same roster that everyone acknowledges isn't good enough to compete for championships against the elite teams in the Western Conference who have been systematically improving their talent and depth, while the Lakers have been managing aging superstars and injury concerns. The mathematical reality is that no other organization in the league is prepared to offer LeBron anywhere close to $50 million annually, with Brian Windhorst reporting that even the Cleveland Cavaliers, who represent his most logical destination for a farewell tour, can only offer him a veteran minimum contract due to their salary cap constraints and luxury tax positioning. This creates a fascinating decision point where LeBron has to choose between maximizing his financial return by signing with a terrible team that would pay him primarily for marketing and attendance purposes, or accepting significantly less money to position himself with an organization that can actually surround him with championship caliber talent during what everyone acknowledges will be his final competitive years. The age and motor concerns are legitimate when you're talking about a player entering his 24th professional season at age 42, dealing with sciatica issues that aren't simply going away, and managing the accumulated wear and tear of more high-intensity basketball minutes than any player in league history, which creates natural limitations on how much he can be expected to carry offensively and defensively during the most important games when championship windows are actually decided. The Giannis comparison becomes relevant here, not because of talent levels or basketball skill, but because Giannis can maintain 100-mile-per-hour intensity for 35 minutes every night, while LeBron has to pick and choose his spots more carefully, pace himself throughout games, and rely more heavily on basketball intelligence and strategic positioning rather than pure athletic dominance to impact winning. Thinking about it from LeBron's perspective, if he genuinely wants to prioritize championship success over financial maximization, staying with the Lakers makes infinitely more sense than signing a veteran minimum deal in Cleveland, where he'd be joining an organization that lacks the salary cap flexibility, trade assets, and organizational infrastructure necessary to build a legitimate contender around him during whatever time he has remaining. The timing of these LeBron deliberations becomes even more crucial when you consider that for the first time all season, the Lakers are finally operating with a completely healthy roster, giving us our first real opportunity to evaluate what this team actually looks like when their three primary stars are available simultaneously and building the chemistry that championship teams require to execute under pressure during the most important games of the year. Luka Doncic, LeBron James, and Austin Reeves have played exactly 10 games together this season, which represents such a ridiculously small sample size that making any definitive judgments about their potential effectiveness as a championship core borders on analytical malpractice, especially when you consider that most successful Big Three combinations require 30 to 40 games together before they start developing the trust, timing, and intuitive understanding that separates good teams from great ones. The injury cascade that prevented this evaluation from happening earlier started with LeBron missing the first 14 games due to sciatica issues, continued with Reeves missing 27 games with various ailments including that brutal calf strain that sidelined him for most of January, and included Doncic dealing with hamstring problems that kept him out of multiple stretches when the other two were finally available simultaneously. Despite this absolutely brutal injury luck that would have destroyed most organizations' season completely, the Lakers currently sit just one game out of the third seed in the Western Conference, which suggests that their talent level and depth might be significantly better than anyone realizes once they can actually field their best lineups consistently rather than constantly adapting to whoever happens to be available on any given night. The remaining 28 games of the regular season represent their first real opportunity to build the continuity and chemistry that championship teams absolutely require. Develop the offensive and defensive principles that will define their playoff identity, and establish the rotation patterns and late-game execution that separate contenders from pretenders when every possession becomes magnified under postseason pressure. We've seen glimpses of what this trio can accomplish when they're all engaged and healthy, including that performance where all three players were spectacular and demonstrated the type of complementary excellence that makes you believe they might actually be capable of carrying a championship run. But we need to see that type of performance consistently over multiple weeks rather than just occasionally when everything aligns perfectly. I believe the Lakers' ability to secure a top 4 seed and home court advantage for at least the first round will depend entirely on how quickly these three players can develop the chemistry and trust that championship teams require, and whether they can stay healthy long enough to establish those patterns before the playoffs begin. The development and integration of the Lakers' younger players represents another fascinating element of their championship construction that could either provide crucial depth and energy during a playoff run, or remain a frustrating collection of unrealized potential that never translates into meaningful contributions when games actually matter most. Adu Thiero and Kobe Buffkin represent exactly the type of athletic, versatile, defensively minded players that championship teams discover and develop during their title runs, providing energy, hustle, and specific skill sets that can swing crucial games when veteran players are dealing with fatigue or foul trouble. But they're currently stuck in basketball purgatory where they're clearly too talented for G League competition, yet haven't been given enough NBA minutes to demonstrate whether they can handle the speed, physicality, and decision-making requirements of playoff basketball against elite competition. Thiero's combination of size, athleticism, and defensive versatility makes him essentially a bigger, stronger, more athletic version of Jared Vanderbilt, which sounds like exactly what championship teams need from their defensive specialists and energy players. But we won't know if that potential translates into actual impact until he gets consistent opportunities to play meaningful minutes rather than just garbage time appearances when games are already decided. Buffkin's ability to create his own offense, make plays for others, and defend multiple positions could solve several roster construction problems simultaneously, providing the Lakers with a legitimate 3-and-D option who can handle increased responsibility during playoff rotations when coaching staffs need players who won't make crucial mistakes under pressure. But again, theoretical potential means nothing without actual playing time to develop confidence, timing, and decision-making under game conditions. Even Bronny James deserves consideration in this conversation because his defensive intensity, ball pressure, and athletic tools suggest he could develop into exactly the type of guard that championship teams need to harass opposing playmakers and create disruption during crucial possessions. Though he clearly needs another year or two of development before he's ready for meaningful playoff minutes against elite competition. The strategic question becomes whether the Lakers are willing to sacrifice some short-term regular season success to invest in these younger players' development, giving them the experience and confidence they might need to contribute during a championship run, or whether they'll stick with veteran-heavy rotations that provide more immediate reliability but less long-term upside and flexibility. thinking about it from a championship construction perspective. Teams that win titles often discover crucial contributions from unexpected sources during their playoff runs, and these younger players represent exactly the type of wild cards that could provide game-changing energy and specific matchup advantages if they're given opportunities to develop and demonstrate their capabilities before the postseason begins. One development that might seem minor, but actually reveals significant information about organizational chemistry and long-term commitment involves Jackson Hayes completing all the necessary paperwork to obtain Slovenian citizenship and join their national team as Luka Doncic's teammate for international competition, which creates an interesting dynamic where two Lakers players will be spending their summers together building chemistry and trust through international basketball, rather than just relying on practice time and regular season games to develop their on-court understanding. The fact that Hayes, who obviously has no Slovenian heritage whatsoever, was willing to go through the naturalization process specifically to play alongside Doncic suggests a level of commitment and team building that goes beyond normal player relationships, especially when you consider that Slovenia initially tried to recruit Daniel Gafford when Doncic was playing for Dallas, only to pivot to Hayes once Doncic became a Laker. Brian Windhorst joked that Hayes had basically signed a contract extension by obtaining Slovenian citizenship might have been intended as humor, but it actually reveals something important about organizational fit and player satisfaction that extends beyond individual statistics and contract negotiations into areas of genuine partnership and mutual investment in long-term success. The chemistry that Hayes and Doncic will develop through international competition could translate into exactly the type of pick-and-roll effectiveness and timing that championship teams need from their center playmaker combinations, providing the Lakers with a low-maintenance, high-energy option who complements Doncic's strengths without requiring extensive offensive involvement or complicated play calling to remain effective and impactful. This international connection also suggests that Doncic is genuinely committed to building something special in Los Angeles rather than just fulfilling contractual obligations while keeping his future options open. Because players typically don't encourage teammates to join their national teams unless they expect to be working together for multiple years rather than just 1 or 2 seasons. I believe this Hayes-Doncic international partnership represents exactly the type of organic team building and chemistry development that championship organizations experience when their core players are genuinely invested in collective success rather than just individual achievement. The possibility of trading for Giannis Antetokounmpo during the upcoming offseason represents the type of franchise-altering opportunity that could either catapult the Lakers into immediate championship contention or consume all their future flexibility while creating roster construction problems that take years to solve, depending entirely on whether they can construct a trade package that satisfies Milwaukee's rebuilding needs without gutting their own depth and developmental prospects. Dave McMenamin's reporting that the Lakers see genuine appeal in Giannis and believe they'd be on his short list of preferred destinations makes perfect sense when you consider Los Angeles market appeal, organizational prestige, and ability to provide the type of championship platform that elite players require during their prime years. But the practical challenges of actually completing such a trade become exponentially more complicated when you examine what Milwaukee would reasonably expect in return for a player of Giannis's caliber and remaining contract value. The Lakers' ability to offer 3 first-round picks during the offseason rather than just 2 at the trade deadline provides them with additional leverage and negotiating power. But those draft assets alone won't be sufficient to acquire a player who's still averaging 28 points per game, remains one of the 5 or 6 best players in the league, and represents the type of generational talent that franchises build around for entire decades rather than trade away unless circumstances become absolutely untenable. The competition for Giannis's services would obviously include Miami, who were reportedly his preferred destination if he had been traded at the deadline, New York, with their collection of assets and market appeal, Oklahoma City with their unprecedented draft capital accumulation, and Minnesota, who expressed serious interest during the season, which means the Lakers would need to present not just the most attractive trade package, but also the most compelling championship vision to convince both Giannis and Milwaukee that Los Angeles represents his best path forward. The roster construction implications of acquiring Giannis would fundamentally alter everything about how the Lakers approach offensive and defensive strategy, because his unique combination of size, athleticism, playmaking, and motor would allow them to play styles and execute strategies that simply aren't possible with their current personnel, potentially solving multiple problems simultaneously while creating new opportunities for players like Doncic and Reeves to excel in more specialized roles rather than being asked to carry disproportionate offensive and leadership responsibilities. Thinking about it from a championship timeline perspective, adding Giannis would immediately transform the Lakers from a team hoping to maximize LeBron's final years into an organization with a legitimate 10-year championship window built around 2 players in their prime, fundamentally changing their approach to roster construction, player development, and long-term strategic planning in ways that could define their success for the next decade. Tonight's game against the Los Angeles Clippers represents far more than just another regular season matchup between crosstown rivals, because the stakes involve playoff positioning, season series bragging rights, and the first opportunity for the Lakers to demonstrate what they actually look like when their full roster is healthy and available for meaningful basketball, rather than constantly managing injury replacements and rotation adjustments that have defined their entire season to this point. The Clippers enter this game having won their last 2 contests and carrying momentum from their victory over Denver, where they demonstrated exactly the type of depth and versatility that makes them dangerous despite their inconsistent record. While the Lakers are coming off an impressive victory over Dallas that showcased what their offense can accomplish when Doncic, Reeves, and their supporting cast are all contributing efficiently within a structured system rather than relying on individual brilliance to overcome strategic limitations. The season series currently favors the Clippers 2-1, which means tonight's result could either give Los Angeles the season tiebreaker advantage or allow the Clippers to claim definitive superiority in their head-to-head matchups, creating additional psychological and competitive factors that extend beyond simple standings, implications into areas of market supremacy and organizational bragging rights that matter enormously in a city where both franchises are fighting for attention, credibility, and championship legitimacy. Kawhi Leonard's continued excellence and consistency provides the Clippers with exactly the type of elite 2-way production that playoff teams require from their primary stars, especially when combined with their improved depth and strategic flexibility under Tyronn Lue's coaching system that maximizes their personnel through intelligent rotations and adaptive game planning. The Lakers' advantage lies in their superior size and length at multiple positions, which could create problems for a Clippers team that relies heavily on smaller, quicker players to execute their offensive and defensive schemes, but only if they can maintain the energy and focus necessary to impose their physical advantages consistently, rather than allowing Los Angeles to dictate tempo and style through superior conditioning and execution. The betting markets favor the Lakers by 7.5 points, which suggests odds makers believe their talent advantage and home court benefit should produce a relatively comfortable victory. But anyone who's watched these teams play each other knows that their matchups typically produce much closer, more competitive games regardless of what the numbers suggest beforehand. I believe tonight's game will reveal crucial information about both teams' playoff readiness and championship potential, because the intensity and execution level required to win meaningful games against quality opponents provides the best preview of how these rosters might perform when every possession matters, and strategic adjustments become exponentially more important than during typical regular season competition. The most significant development that almost everyone is overlooking involves the Lakers' immediate organizational transformation under Mark Walters' ownership, demonstrated perfectly by today's announcement that Lon Rosen, who spent over a decade as executive vice president and chief marketing officer for the Dodgers, will replace Tim Harris as the Lakers' president of business operations, creating a direct pipeline between the two franchises that signals Walters' intention to apply the same systematic excellence and strategic thinking that transformed the Dodgers into a model organization to the Lakers' business and competitive operations. Harris's departure after more than 35 years with the organization represents one of the most significant structural changes in Lakers history, because he was the architect of their massive television deal with Spectrum Sportsnet that provided the financial foundation for everything they've accomplished over the past decade. But his exit also creates opportunities for fresh perspectives and innovative approaches to business development, fan engagement, and revenue generation that could position the Lakers for sustained success throughout the next era of NBA competition. Rosen's background with the Lakers during the 1980s, combined with his proven track record of increasing revenue and attendance with the Dodgers while maintaining championship competitiveness, suggests that Walter is prioritizing executives who understand both the Lakers' historical standards and the modern requirements for organizational excellence in professional sports entertainment. The fact that this transition is happening immediately rather than waiting for the offseason demonstrates Walter's urgency about implementing his vision for Lakers basketball. And the direct collaboration between Lakers and Dodgers organizations creates synergies and resource-sharing opportunities that most NBA franchises simply cannot access due to single-sport ownership structures and limited cross-promotional capabilities. The broader organizational restructuring that began with Joey and Jesse Buss being removed from their executive positions and continued with significant changes throughout the scouting department now extends to the business operations side, suggesting that Walter's commitment to comprehensive excellence touches every aspect of the franchise, rather than just focusing on basketball operations or financial performance in isolation. Magic Johnson's previous complaints about Tim Harris's involvement in basketball decisions might have seemed like personality conflicts at the time, but they actually revealed important information about organizational structure and decision-making authority that Walter appears determined to clarify through strategic personnel changes and defined roles that prevent confusion about authority and responsibility in crucial areas. I believe this hire demonstrates that Walter is implementing the same systematic approach to organizational excellence that produced sustained championship success with the Dodgers, suggesting that Lakers fans should expect continued changes and improvements throughout every level of the franchise as they transition from the Buss family's traditional approach to Walter's more corporate and strategically comprehensive methodology. The Lakers aren't just building a basketball team for this. season, or even the next few seasons, they're constructing a sustainable championship organization that can adapt to changing personnel, evolving league dynamics, and unexpected challenges, while maintaining competitive excellence regardless of which specific players are wearing their uniforms. And if that doesn't get you excited about the future of this franchise, then you probably haven't been paying close enough attention to how rarely organizations achieve this level of strategic clarity and systematic execution in professional sports.